welcome to Libre. This is the first episode in English with a very, very, very special guest, Tzachi Ozeri. He's a writer, entrepreneur. He recovered from drugs. He healed his relationship with money, and he has a very, very powerful healing process. And he's here to share his story.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you very much.
Tzachi. You realize I really need to change my life. What was the most obscure and dark moment of Tzachi's life?
For a few months, that's the last time I was homeless. For a few months, I was either living in a van, inside a van, taking showers in the gym in the morning, or I would be staying at my friends' places, sleeping in the couch or upstate house that they had that nobody was there. So those was my conditions for a few months until I figured out what's going to be my next step. And my next step basically separated me from my friends and led me to a different path, which I'm here right now. At that point, when I was homeless, I had to make a decision. What can I do now that will change my income or my life? So at that point, either I lose my friendship with whoever I was friends with, or I lose myself. And I decided to lose the friendship with my friends instead of losing myself. That basically what's led me to overthink things or change things in the right direction.
You was homeless once, twice, 3 times, because normally the process to start a healing process before, like the backstage of a healing process, it starts with a repetition of the same bad pattern. How many times you repeat and you was in the same dark place and you try to change and you come back and again.
The thing is, it happened to me twice, but with my parents it's 3 times. It's all started in the beginning of my parents when they put us in a place where we were homeless. So at that point, even if I was 3 years old, I always wanted to make money, but I never had a plan how to. So I always tapped to somebody else's dream, hopefully getting from them the opportunity to be a partner and develop my financial through their dream, not my dream. And then it happened to me myself. I was homeless because of my choices in life, but it's the same pattern that my parents had. They both suffer from getting pushed from their countries. So my mom's side got pushed from Europe because of World War II, and my dad's side got pushed from the Middle East because, again, against Jews from the Middle East. They came to Israel. So both got somehow kicked out of their houses, and then generated to my parents that got kicked out from their houses, and get generated to me, got kicked out of my house. So it's all a pattern that happened since the beginning of my generation of family. Now, there's also some sort of, in Israel, there's also some sort of issues between the European Jews and the Middle East Jews. So it was also an effect on the families, because my mom and dad is basically the African American marrying the white story in U.S. The same thing with the Israeli. The Ashkenaz married the Sephardic. It's the same problem that the U.S. facing when they're talking about white and black. For a long time, I was in the lost and found kind of category, which I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get it. I didn't have a dream. I didn't have a passion, not a dream, a passion, because I did have a dream to make money. I didn't have a passion. I didn't know what's my gift is. So I tapped to somebody else's gift again. So it wasn't a bad decision. It was just thinking that if I put my 100% toward their dream, and that means if it was within construction, being a best PM, project manager, salesperson as well, or learn anything that the business wants me to learn or have the ability to learn in order to grow in their business. But it always led to the same result of in their mind, I didn't have value. They can replace it in the next day. And that's what I didn't understand that. And this is where I realized that I need to go find my value in order to define how much I worth or how much I want to make or what exactly I want to do with my life. How can I create a service that can help others so I can help in those times that it was very bad or I wasn't valued. I couldn't leave. I couldn't left the next day. But for some reason, something attracted me to stay there.
But it's very difficult when you are in the middle of a very critical situation to have the power and the braveness to believe in yourself. If you didn't believe in yourself before, if you didn't have a passion, if you was completely lost, what was the light for Tzachi to start
First of
a
all,
new life?
I think it was the idea that I wanted to change. When I was starting to work on myself, my first question is what am I running from? And it always came back to the fact that we were homeless, and I'm afraid to be without any apartment or be in the same situation over and over again. So that was my first fear. And what can make you homeless? The fact that you don't have money. So how can you change this feeling that I've been carrying for 38 years? And it wasn't easy, but you know, when they used to tell me money doesn't mean anything, I used to get very upset because the people that usually told me this were very rich or very wealthy, or at least have some sort of security that I didn't have. So I was very upset every time I was hearing it. But the truth is, money is not everything. And if you want to tap to money, you need to create a feeling, a positive feeling inside of you to attract it into your life. And that's what the change that I made over the 4 years. And COVID helped me to define this idea because when in COVID there was no work. Even though I opened my company, I did not have any job, or cannot even pursue the job because the city was closed, shut down. So my fear of being homeless got spiked up because of it. And the fact that, you know, I was able to change that thought because, in my mind, I said, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? They can't kick me out right now, especially now in this pandemic. So how can I keep this mindset going forward? So I should not be afraid of it. And I was finding ways to tap into the same thought that I had nothing going to happen. They're not going to kick me out. There's too many laws in New York City that before they need to kick you out. And by that time, I might be able to fix my situation because it takes one phone call to say, I signed you for a new project, and then everything is going back to normal. So
Did you suffer any addiction to drugs or alcohol? That there is something very physical, like implies you really needed to be very brave and to have real courage to say, I'm going to change
So
this
with drugs,
situation.
it was always a thing that an escape. So what exactly I was escaping from, and if I can identify what I was escaping from, it was easy for me to get off the drug. Now it's not easy. It's not the right word, but it took a process and work. But it was a decision that helps me to move out of it. And again, it's a choice you should take or want to take in order to move forward or out from this addiction. So yeah, so this is big. You know, for a lot of people, it's not going to be easy to step out of this addiction. And you see a lot of people that trying and not able to say no. And I'm not a doctor, so for me it was very kind of easy because from day one I knew that I want to be wealthy, and if my goal is to be wealthy, so I need to be clean. Because the decision that I was making while I was doing drugs was emotional decision, and you don't want to have emotion when you're doing business. At least not high emotions or get attached to things, because otherwise it will be very difficult for you to make this hard decision in the times when you need to make hard decisions.
If you need to summarize like the steps you start in your healing process with this trauma, with money and with self-love and the traumas from your family, what was the beginning? You make exercise more, you start to change your thoughts, you practice
So there is a
exercise
lot of
on, I don't know,
there's a lot of
what therapy.
techniques. I choose. sleep meditation, which has helped me a lot, especially because it was very challenging for me to find peace or be still while meditating when I was awake. So this has helped me little by little to get this, um, you can say, a better feeling when you wake up. In the end of the day, choosing to be happy is a choice when you wake up. If you wake up and deciding to still be stuck on whatever happened yesterday, it's a choice that you can change if you want to create some positive in today. So I guess sleep meditation, breathing exercise, going back to the childhood and figured out what was the happy moments in those times and how I can tap to those happy moments. Because there were times when I was very happy when I was a kid. Tapping to it helped me out. If it's riding a bicycle, if it's going to shoot some hoops, or if whatever it is, going to a movie. So tapping to those feelings helps to overcome those negative thoughts that you have on a daily basis, or move forward from those negative thoughts.
Did you use some techniques, any techniques to unblock the trauma?
No, not really. There are techniques, for example, if you are overthink stuff. There's the method of 333, which basically, when you overthink, then first of all, say three things that you see, and then three things that you hear, and move three parts of your body. And then usually the thought goes away because you're just breaking the cycle of the thought. And then you can start thinking about something else. So there's a lot of techniques, but I can really tap on one thing that I did. I think praying, affirmation, or whatever you want to call it, helps as well. If something bad happened to, if something and a bad thought comes to your head, it usually helps to say something good over and over again, just to tap out of it or stop the cycle of the overthinking. So yeah, there's so many things, but I'm not an expert on what works. I can tell you what works for me, and that's usually what works for me every time I have a bad thought coming into my head.
Saki, if you need to choose the most important act of liberation in your life, which
So I
one
think
would
it's
be?
where, because my dad wasn't in my mind. My dad wasn't there for 20 years, um, and it was one day after 20 years that he did a mistake, and I confronted him. So the next day, he asked me to come to this coffee place, and basically took responsibility, and that's helped me. He basically tell his side of the story and ask for forgiveness, and that's really something that helped us grow to a very healthy and strong relationship till he died. And it helped me in the long run, forgiving myself for whatever I did and take responsibilities of the time that I was failing and move on. So if I came back home, he probably was in his room watching TV and never come out. He wasn't in school. He wasn't came to my soccer player or basketball games. He never gave me any advice, at least in my mind, for 20 years, because he was trying to move forward from what he created. And until he found his place that he was working for the till he died, basically, um, it was hard for him to take responsibility and explain his reason to why he did what he did. So that's basically why in my head I always thought it wasn't there. But working on my third book, I can, in starting seeing things in a positive way, I can say I was just lying to myself, but it was there. But in my mind at that time, for the period of time that I was before I made my transformation, I always thought that my dad wasn't there for 20 years.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm really grateful because you now are an influencer and you changing other lives with your testimony, with your stories. Very, 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 very powerful because it's a very impressive chain of trauma you are healing and you have the courage to change not just your life, but to change the whole life of your family and the life of the people who read your book, because it's very helpful to understand how you can create a different life. And the beginning of everything is in our brains and in our thoughts, and it's very hard too, because I think in my process, for me the most difficult part was to control my emotions and to control my thoughts. And I was overthinking, as you say, all the time. And for some people it's easy. Some people is more determined, maybe like yourself, like to say, okay, I'm going to change this thought, and it's working well. But in my situation, I have big emotions, and I really needed to unblock the trauma with real techniques about trauma, with tapping, with like try to work with my therapies directly, and unblock with like 3 different techniques of trauma. A lot of bad memories in my life was where I wish these memories completely were blocked in my life. I didn't realize it until the moment I was starting with really using the techniques every day. And the most important part of my healing process was to accept the emotions. And because when I say in the past, like, okay, I'm just going to change this thought, I was thinking more in the bad thought. And I really needed to use like these kind of techniques to just accept and say, okay, I accept myself with this, and I choose to be better. But everyone has different path, and this is the reason I am so curious about your path, because I'm completely sure like there are so many people like you can see this interview and connect with you, and you can change their lives
Yeah,
in one
because in the
minute.
end of the day, you're facing yourself, nobody else. So if you keep looking in the window and see what everybody else has, then it's not going to work. The only way for you to step out or to accept is looking at your face in the mirror and, you know, figure out what exactly you don't like on yourself, or what exactly is bothering you. Psychiatrists are not tricks, are not tricks. At the end of the day, you are your own boss. And in order for you to step out, so you need to figure out how to value yourself. Because if you don't value yourself, nobody else will value you. If you don't love yourself, nobody else will love you. If you don't accept yourself, nobody will accept you. If you cheat yourself, then you get cheated.
Saki, you have a very beautiful
Thank you.
journey. I know you
Thank
choose
you.
every day to be better. And do you want to share another
Sure.
good habit
You
for
talked
people who
about
are
God,
feeling
and I'm going to
it was helpful?
piggyback on this. God gave those who give themselves. Take a minute, think about this. God gave those who give themselves. And if you don't give yourself love, you're not going to receive love. If you don't give yourself value, you're not going to get value.
Yeah.
When you cheat yourself, you
No,
get
I
cheated.
agree.
You know, we're born to be successful, and we are successful people. Some of us making successful choices, some of us making successfully bad choices over and over again. And until we figured out how to see the bad, the good in the bad, then we're going to keep making the same mistake over and over again successfully. Compared to successful people, when they're making a bad choice, they're just going to see as a learning curve and going to figure out how to tweak it, change it, and make it a successful choice. In the end of the day, we all have choices, and the choices is the only freedom that we actually have in life. So,
Accept mistakes, don't be a victim, learn from
yeah,
mistakes, and choose to be better. I think this is
sure.
the most important thing.
The most important light is the light that you cannot see. And the most beautiful about this is we are most of our journey in a dark place, especially if we start a business, especially if we do changing our path. We not really know if we what's going to happen. We are in a dark place, but someone once told me sometimes when you're in a dark place, you feel like you are buried when actually you've been planted. So the whole idea of seeing the light, it's just a matter of can be a matter of days, seconds, or weeks. But if you keep going and keep believing in yourself, it's more likely you're going to be able to see the light.
This is your second act of liberation. like stay positive in the middle
Yeah.
of the big storm.
And you know exactly my storm because you know
And
exactly where I am and I'm always able to, what's going to happen. I just need to look for another job. I need to look for
yeah,
another
it's
project.
really
And
hard.
when I sign the project, again, I would be in a wave, in a positive way, because in the end of the day, there is a domino effect that's creating by us. And if we tap to the wrong effect, then it's not going to stop. For example, the domino effect can be positive and can be negative. And if something bad happened to you and you focus on the negative of it, then the domino effect is going to have another bad result, another bad result. Instead of, okay, it's a bad result, but what was good in it, so I can change it so that the wave will be back to a positive instead of the negative.